Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Erica. How you doing? You ready? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, it's like 9 to go. So let's keep going. The next on the agenda is, and I will hopefully not mispronounce this, the Hedico LLC, MCN 281292, which is Tier 2 Indoor Cultivation. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you stated, the applicant here is the Hedico LLC. The proposed location is 4 LaChance Street, located in Gardner, Mass. The license being sought is a Tier 2 Indoor Cultivation license. The applicant and municipality did execute a host community agreement on July 8th of 2019. A community outreach meeting was held, and the municipal response was received from the municipality on November 4th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances and bylaws. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend provisional licensure with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Flanagan.
Sorry, my bad. It's getting a little redundant in here, that's all. I would, in the positive impact plan, it states that they are going to work with a local staffing agency, TBD, and I'd like to know who that staff, I think they would know who that staffing agency is already that they're going to work with, so I'd like some information on that. And then it says that they're going to be careful to comply with the existing law of the ban the box. Well, I would want to have an update later on as to their compliance with it. When they're saying they're going to be careful to comply, to me, that means that they don't know if they're going to comply, so I would just like to have some clarity around that later.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Commissioner Title.
I would like to add a condition to update the diversity plan goal of 20% for all 5 categories for previously mentioned reasons.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other comments or questions? Thank you. Then, could I please ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Hedico LLC, MCN 281292, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title? Can I have such a motion, please? Have a second? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to the Hedico LLC, MCN 281292, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title. The Two Buds LLC, the first 2 are co-located and the third one is separate. Is that correct? Or
All 3.
All 3 are separate. Okay, fine.
All 3 are together.
All 3 are co-located. Okay, then again, we'll have one discussion and 3 separate votes. Two Buds LLC, MCN 281702, Tier 3 Indoor Cultivation. Two Buds LLC, MPN 281506, Product Manufacturing. Two Buds LLC, MRN 281959, Retailer. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Two Buds LLC. The proposed location is 53 Air Station Industrial Park, located in Rockland. The 3 licenses being sought are a Tier 3 Indoor Cultivation license, Product Manufacturing license, and Retail license. The applicant and municipality did execute a host community agreement on September 4th of 2018. A community outreach meeting was held. The Commission received a municipal response from the municipality on December 5th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend the issuance of 3 provisional licenses with the conditions before you.
Thank you, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments?
Mr.
Commissioner Flanagan.
I would just like some clarity on how many community-based workshops there are per year. In the beginning, it says that they are going to do quarterly startup workshops, but then in the plan, it says community-based workshops and that they've done 3 but shall continue to conduct them. So I'm just curious as to the number per year.
Thank you, and that's applying to all 3 applications, correct? Any other comments or questions? Then please, again, we'll take 3 separate votes. Could I ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Two Buds LLC, MCN 281702, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Two Buds LLC, MCN 281702, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you. Next, Two Buds LLC, MPN 281506. May I ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
I think I got this. Commissioner Title made the motion, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor? I'm sorry, let the record show that the motion was made by Commissioner Title and seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Two Buds LLC, MPN 281506, subject to the condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Next, Two Buds LLC, MRN 281959. Can I ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please? Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Two Buds LLC, MRN 281959, subject to the additional condition requested by Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you. Tyka Green, separately or?
Altogether.
Altogether. Thank you very much. So again, one discussion. We'll have three separate votes. Tyka Green Incorporated, MCN 281844, Tier 1 Indoor Cultivation. Tyka Green, MPN 281555, Product Manufacturer. Tyka Green, MRN 282035, Retailer. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Tyka Green Incorporated. The proposed location is 470 Main Street, located in Clinton, Mass. The three licenses being sought are a Tier 1 Indoor Cultivation License, Product Manufacturing License, and a Retail License. The applicant did execute a host community agreement on July 25th of 2018. They did conduct a community outreach meeting, and the Commission did receive municipal responses on November 27th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with local ordinances or bylaws. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend the issuance of 3 provisional licenses with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions? Commissioner Flanagan.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like some clarification surrounding the program that they're working on with STCC. When do they plan to have that program up and running and accepting students?
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Commissioner Title?
A condition to update the diversity plan with 2 items. One, to update the 20% goal for previously mentioned reasons. And 2, to correct the definition of diversity plan so it doesn't include people of all gender identities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Then again, I will ask for 3 separate votes. First, Tyka Green Incorporated, MCN 1844. Can I have a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title?
So moved.
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Tyka Green Incorporated, MCN 281844, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title. Next, Tyka Green Incorporated, MPN 281555. Can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license Tyka Green Incorporated, MPN 281555, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioner Flanagan and Title. Next, Tyka Green Incorporated, MRN 282035. Can I ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Flanagan and Title? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Tyka Green Incorporated, MRN 282035, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioner Title and Commissioner Flanagan. Thank you. Next, West County Collective, LLC, MCN 281512, Tier 2 Indoor Cultivation. Mr. Potvin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is West County Collective LLC. The proposed location is 270 Cloverdale Street in Pittsfield. The license being sought is a Tier 2 Indoor Cultivation License. The applicant and municipality did execute a host community agreement on August 17th of 2018. A community outreach meeting was held, and the Commission did receive a municipal response from the municipality on November 8th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. Therefore, Commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Putman. Are there questions or comments? Commissioner Title?
I'd like to add a condition to update the diversity plan with 2 items. One, to adjust the goal of 20% for previously stated reasons. And second, the goal is listed as 20% of staff and/or contractors, which is too vague. I'd like to get rid of the and/or. Thank you.
Commissioner Flanagan? Thank you, Commissioner Title.
Mr. Chairman, I just have some confusion. They, in the positive impact plan, they mention a bi-monthly and a biannually cleanup, and I want to know if they're 2 different programs or if there's just some inconsistency in how it's written.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Then can I please ask for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to West County Collective LLC, MCN 281512, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Title and Flanagan? Have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to West County Collective LLC, MCN 281512, subject to the conditions requested by Commissioners Title and Flanagan. Thank you. Next is Wiseacre Farm Incorporated, MCN 281406, which is Tier 1 outdoor cultivation. Is this also an application that has moved forward as part of our expediting policy?
Yes, this is, again, this is an example of the application originally coming in as a general applicant and then changing to expedited review based on the license site.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant here is Wiseacre Farm Incorporated. The proposed location is 276 Great Barrington Road, located in West Stockbridge. The license being sought here is a Tier 1 outdoor cultivation license. The applicant did execute a host community agreement on March 13th of 2019. A community outreach meeting was held, and the commission did receive a municipal response on November 6th of 2019, stating that the applicant was in compliance with all local ordinances or bylaws. Therefore, commission staff do recommend the issuance of a provisional license with the conditions before you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potvin. Are there questions or comments? Thank you. Then let me ask, please, for a motion to approve the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Wiseacre Farm Incorporated, MCN 281406. Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation to issue a provisional license to Wiseacre Farm Incorporated, MCN 281406. Unanimously. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Are there any other licenses to be considered at this point in time, Mr. Potvin?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Then let me again thank the licensing staff and the entire enforcement investigations team for both the volume and the quality of the work that goes into the session we just had. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And I think you're off the hook. I've spoken with the other commissioners. We've got a few more items on the agenda, guidances and a few other discussions and votes. My preference is to just continue going. My guess is maybe an hour, maybe a little bit less, but we're going to just keep going and try to do that. But again, if any commissioner feels they'd like a break at any time, just ask and we'll take a break. But let's keep going. The set of issues that are remaining for us to discuss are several guidance documents, as well as a report that is required by law to the Attorney General's on potential criminal penalties, and then staff recommendations to approve vendors for our responsible vendor training program. We'll do that in order. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to ask specific commissioners on ones that they've really worked on directly to make any comments they choose to ahead of time. But if I miss anybody that would like to make a comment before we get started in the discussion, I apologize. But please feel free to get involved and ask for the opportunity to speak. Guidance for farmers. Is there any commissioner that wishes to speak about this before we have a discussion and vote on it? Mr. Executive Director, is there anything you'd like to add to this conversation?
Just to, I think, set some context as to why these are coming before the Commission as well is these are largely updates based on the regulatory change that was implemented and adopted in November. And so in many cases, it's really just updating facts and figures, or in this case, for instance, fees, for example. There's also some discussion you'll see as the guidance on licensing has ballooned a bit.
We'll talk about that.
But there's some discussion about consolidating guidance as well. So, but the impetus for all of this is the regulatory shift.
Thank you. I appreciate that context. In that context, are there any questions or comments on the guidance document for farmers? Then can I please have a motion to approve the guidance document and to have it posted on our website? Can I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Title. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that Commissioner unanimously approved the guidance for farmers document. Thank you very much. Guidance on host community agreements, Commissioner Doyle, would you want to make a comment? It's not Commissioner McBride? Anybody? Well, we'll ask questions if we have them of her. Are there any questions or comments on the guidance on host community agreements? Okay, thank you. Then can I ask, please, for a motion to approve the guidance document on host community agreements?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show that Commissioner Doyle made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner McBride. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that Commission unanimously approved the guidance document on host community agreements. Thank you very much. Next is guidance on positive impact plans. I know that the two commissioners that were driving this were Commissioners Flanagan and Title. Would you, either of you, have any comments that you wish to make at this point in time?
Yeah. Mr.
Commissioner
Chairman.
Flanagan?
Thank you. The guidance for the positive impact plan, I think, was an attempt by Commissioner Title and I to really sort of spell out what we're looking for in the positive impact plans. We've gone, most of the time when we go through licensing, we're making conditions on the impact plans and the diversity plans. So we really wanted to give people a better understanding of what we're looking for. The true intent is that you have a positive impact on the communities that we have identified. The one policy discussion that I would like to have, and maybe a vote be taken on it, and then staff can include it in the plan, is to allow companies to have portions of their HCA included in their positive impact plans. There is some portions of an HCA that a company might have that include cleanups or monetary donations to local communities, things that the actual community has identified that would be impactful. And so I think it's been really difficult for licensees to try to do both. And we're not trying to make this difficult. Like I said, the intent is that you have an actual impact. And so while we do not want the whole HCA to be your positive impact plan, we realize that there are certain provisions in an HCA that would be impactful. So I would like to make the motion that would allow applicants to have portions of their HCAs to be included in a positive impact plan should they deem, pertinent.
So the motion would be to include what you just articulated as part of improving the overall guidance document?
It is, and I think that,
I'm just asking if you're looking for separate votes or just one vote, including your...
to me, it doesn't matter if we do separate votes. I mean, I think it might send a message to the applicants that we understand some of the difficulties when it comes to negotiating these HCAs, and we were trying to be helpful, and so that they can fulfill both requirements. How you would like to proceed,
It seems to me that we
Mr.
can
Chairman,
just do one vote if that's okay with you. But let me, before I entertain your motion, are there other comments or questions? Mr. Title?
I'll just add the comment that we had received a lot of requests to make our requirements clearer. And there was also research done by our research fellow, Jessica, who presented some time ago, and Dr. Johnson helped with this as well. So if you read through the guidance, you'll find that we have attempted to clarify some terms, particularly the term disproportionately harmed people, because we were finding that a lot of the plans were hyper-focused on the areas without understanding that we also have other disproportionately harmed people that may be in different areas. So I hope that guidance is helpful. We also have had the benefit now of seeing so many positive impact plans, many of which are innovating in new ways. So we have several suggestions of programs. Today we saw a positive impact plan that was new, that had a goal of bringing one social equity applicant and one economic empowerment applicant through the process, which I think is wonderful. So I don't want people to feel like they are constrained to the programs that are in this guidance, but it should provide some helpful specificity, I think. And then lastly, we've also tried to make it clearer so that when renewal comes, it will be clear exactly what's expected of people, because we clearly spend a lot of time evaluating these plans. Applicants spend a lot of time preparing them, and that's not all just a performance. It's expected that the plans will be, that there will be some progress made and attempts made.
Thank you. Are there any other comments before I ask Commissioner Flanagan to make the motion? Would you mind making the motion again? And let's just do it in one vote, including your suggested modification.
Move to allow applicants to include portions of their host community agreements into the positive impact plans and also approval of the positive impact plan as rewritten.
Thank you very much. Can I have a second, please? I'd let the record show the motion was made by Commissioner Flanagan, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the commission unanimously approved the motion. Thank you very much. Next up is guidance on distribution. Mr. Executive Director, is this something you'd like to make a comment about? Thank you.
It is. So in this instance, the recommendation or the consideration before you is not to update the guidance, but instead to remove the guidance and fold it into a number of different areas that the Commission's working on, including the public awareness campaign. And so it's ultimately to remove the guidance and, again, fold it into existing materials.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Can I have a motion, please, then, to remove this guidance document?
So moved.
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Title made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Let the record show the commission unanimously approves the motion. Thank you very much. Next, compiled guidance on energy and environmental compliance. And I think I know whom to turn to about this one, Commissioner Doyle.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For folks experiencing deja vu, yes, we did just talk about this in November. What has changed principally, and I know it was a massive document to read, so I apologize for that, but what has changed principally is a shift back in the timeline for enforcement. And the proposed delay will also be proposed for an update in the 2020 regulatory amendments. But due to a variety of reasons, not the least of which was the logistical challenges posed by our move to Worcester, we were unable to get the information out regarding energy issues in what I felt was enough time to give businesses adequate information to make business decisions regarding which compliance path to pursue. Therefore, I have proposed an amendment to the guidance to put the new compliance goal for adult businesses and co-located businesses as July 1st, 2020, rather than the existing one, which was January 1st, 2020, with the associated move back in the date for the energy extension survey option. And if folks have forgotten what that was, we provided a 6-month extension option if you filled out as a licensee or applicant an incredibly detailed energy extension survey. If you choose that option, your compliance date would then become January 1st, 2021, which is the date for standalone medical marijuana treatment centers. And when I say standalone, I mean you have no adult licenses. So what that means in terms of impact is that July 1st, 2020 date, for those of you who don't choose the energy extension option, will be the date that you need to comply. Wherever you are in the process, you will need to comply with the requirements on that date. So if you're filing your application on or after that date, you'll need to comply with the energy provisions regarding applications. If you haven't yet filed your architectural review materials, you'll need to file those energy compliance letters and supporting materials. If you are up for renewal and you're about to file your renewal and you haven't previously, because it wasn't in effect yet, filed the energy compliance letter and supporting materials with your architectural review, now will be when you are going to have to do it. So the delay hopefully will provide us with an opportunity for education, training, and outreach, all of which we'll discuss the details in the future. But in the meantime, I strongly recommend that applicants and licensees take advantage of this time and engage with energy efficiency programs and use the time productively, because come July, we're going to be looking at compliance very closely. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I would like to move to amend the compiled guidance on energy and environmental compliance.
Thank you. Before I ask for a second on that motion, are there any comments or questions? Then please, can I have a second to the motion that Commissioner Doyle just made? Second. Let the record show Commissioner Doyle made the motion, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show that the recommendation or the motion was unanimously approved by the commission. Thank you very much, Commissioner Doyle, and once again, just thank you very much for your leadership on this important topic. Next is compiled guidance on licensing, and I guess I wouldn't mind, I would like to ask Mr. Executive Director, if you just kind of give us an overview about both what's in here, but also the process that we've gone through as a staff to produce this document.
So an easier question might be what's not in here. So it's a very robust document, I think intentionally. What this is really an attempt to do is to consolidate where possible, but also generate and develop a kind of a one-stop shop document. Our intention as far as if it meets with the commission's approval, is to produce this, yes, as a guidance document that is an attachment and available for download, but also to present it on our website, I think in a more complete and a navigable way that folks can bounce around, especially based on license type and the various requirements. But this also is an attempt to, I think, take the various guidance documents that are out there on the commission's website now and incorporate them into that one stop. So it's application fees, background checks, guidance on business, guidance on community outreach meeting, guidance on license applicants, guidance on license types, and guidance on renewal, all folded into one document. And to your point, this was a very collaborative effort amongst staff as well as commissioners in an iterative process to make sure we captured a lot of different things in here. But I think it's also based on feedback that was received of, especially in whether this will be useful is in the event that a license application is reopened for any reason, it can be then leveraged by that applicant and used by our staff to say, this is what we're talking about. And so there's a variety of utility, but also based on feedback from applicants and licensees as they navigate the process of just trying to make sure it's clear and concise, and again, all one repository of all that information. So that's a 30,000-foot view of it, but it's intentionally broad and big, but I think it offers a lot of utility and a variety of utility to be deployed in the very near future.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate the effort yourself, all the staff, and it's kind of, I think, pretty much the entire staff, as far as I can tell, was involved in this, and also to my fellow commissioners, because I know that each of you were solicited for input. So thank you. Before I ask for a motion, are there comments or questions? Commissioner McBride?
I mean, it's really more like a manual than a guidance.
Right.
You
want to speak in the microphone?
it's comprehensive, and I give a great deal of credit. I know that each of us individually worked on it with staff, but a great deal of credit to Kyle Potvin, to Christine Bailey, the legal staff, the licensing staff, who really tried to open up all of our documents and figure out a way to make them more user-friendly, really facing applicants and facing licensees. And I think that this gets a long way there. And it also is exciting because it starts to incorporate provisions about new license types that are going to be rolling out.
Thank you. Commissioner Doyle?
Hi, and I also renew my thanks and appreciation. And of course, I just made it complicated because now I think we need to update it to include cross-references to all the energy and environmental materials. So apologies to the staff, but pretty please, could we do that?
I do want to kind of note your ability to add complexity to pretty much any topic.
I'm talented that way. So, but no, I really appreciate, especially when we're talking about process, it was gratifying to see the explanation of the expedition policy. I think that will help and, distinguish it between the priority categories, which are set by law, and then the expedition policy, which is commission created.
Thank you. Commissioner Kyle?
It is not an easy thing to take all of that extremely complex information and put it in such a user-friendly format. So I really want to echo the thanks to Christine and to Kyle and the whole staff that worked on this. I see this as a huge equalizer and a way for people to have a resource to educate themselves. And it's a very big opportunity for any kind of stakeholder to be able to read this manual. And I also expect that anyone who represents themselves to me as informed or a stakeholder or who has a complaint to have read this document, because it's going to answer a lot of your questions, and it's a way to address a lot of the information gaps and concerns that we've seen recently.
Thank you. Commissioner Flanagan?
There's not much else to say.
I know, but, you know, pile on, it's fine.
Thank you to everybody.
Any other comments before I ask for a motion? And could I ask for a motion, please, to approve the guidance document on licensing? Can I have a second, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the guidance on licensing document, and I'll pile on with my appreciation for everybody involved in this. Thank you very much. Next is memorandum about a required report on potential criminal penalties. Commissioner McBride, do you wish to speak to this or not? General Counsel, would you care to make some opening comments before we discuss and debate and vote?
Thank you, Chairman. As you know, there's
Would you please pass the microphone along to her? Thank you. And you got, I'm learning the hard way, General Counsel. You got to be about 2 inches away.
Thanks very much. So as you know, we have this requirement under Chapter 55 to have conducted basically a joint investigation and study of existing criminal penalties. And I just want to give some special thanks to Gabe Viator, who's a senior policy advisor at the Attorney General's office, who spearheaded it for their office. I'm glad to report that we fulfilled that mandate in part by conducting the joint investigation and study. This included an extensive review of criminal and also civil laws. It also included reaching out to other agencies who we identified as having some common concerns. So I'm here before you today to offer our joint recommendations and a draft report for your consideration. You should also know that the AGO is simultaneously conducting its own internal review. So an important part of our recommendations and report is that we are not recommending any new criminal penalties. Basically, based on our review, we think that the existing criminal penalties are adequate and would apply to both licensees who are engaging in illegal sales and operating in the illicit market, as well as unlicensed individuals and entities. And one prime example of that is the Controlled Substances Act. We would also note that there are existing environmental penalties as well as tax implications for illegal sales. We do recommend 3 primary things. One is that we clarify our statutes, both adult and medical, to be clear that if you're acting within the scope of licensure, you're not going to be subject to criminal or other penalties. If, however, you're conducting illegal sales or operating in the illicit market, you're placing yourself at risk. So the proposed language in the draft report is as much speaking to licensees as well as to external agencies and officials to make it clear as to what the line is. The second recommendation is that we support a joint task force that brings together relevant administrative and enforcement entities. A primary concern of that task force we would recommend would be to conduct further investigations study of the illicit market and to identify approaches, both criminal and administrative, to address basically illegal activity. The final recommendation is that we expand the Department of Revenue's enforcement authority. As it stands, the Department of Revenue has the ability to assess the sales tax on illegal sales. We would support or recommend supporting an expansion of that authority so that they could assess both the excise and local option tax as well. Ultimately, this would hopefully be a deterrent to illegal activity and an alternative to criminal prosecution. So with that background
Thank you. I'm sorry.
No, so with that background, we would ask that the Commission approve the recommendations and the essential approach and content of the draft report.
Thank you very much, General Counsel. I appreciate it. Any comments or questions? Commissioner Tuttle?
So I'm going to vote no on principle, and I'll say why. But I do want to just note that I think the report is really nuanced and thoughtful and well done. And you really took a lot of feedback and incorporated it, which I appreciate. The reason I'm voting no is because I believe that a task force, if warranted at this time, should be only limited to immediate public health issues like counterfeit products or like illicit market products that are causing something like the vaping illness. I think beyond that, enforcement would be premature without having an accompanying pathway for people who are currently in the illicit market to transition to the legal market. And that is certainly a top priority of ours and in progress, but not there yet. And not being there, I don't feel that I can vote for this. However, I don't want to model a refusal to engage in this conversation, because this is something that is going to happen, and it's really important that we talk about it. And it's really important that all stakeholders are thinking about what enforcement in the illicit market should look like. And I think if you refuse to talk about it, or you say no enforcement is appropriate, then this task force is going to be created anyway, and you will have missed that conversation. So I'm going to vote no, but I'm glad this is moving forward. I'm glad that it also has such a focus on data collection, trying to understand the illicit market first, and then any further enforcement being measured carefully in terms of any disproportionate effect. I think that data collection is very on brand for us. I appreciate that being included. And I definitely appreciate, in theory, the focus on alternatives to criminal prosecution.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Tuttle. Are there other comments or questions? Commissioner McBride?
I think that what the General Counsel led with is really important to note, which is not to bury the headline that there are no additional criminal penalties that are suggested by this report. There are models that currently exist in the state, like the Joint Tobacco Enforcement Task Force, which provide a model for how a task force like this could operate and the work that it would do. That task force also takes advantage of the role of other administrative agencies. And I think that it's in harnessing those other administrative agencies and in providing remedies for the issue of illicit transactions along the lines of, as a first step, a tax assessment, I think is an important piece to note here, largely because it provides the opportunity to allow for pathways into the legal market. And I think that that's extraordinarily important to note, that that is ultimately what the goal is. We have now 65 plus people that come to this commission every day, either here or in Boston or out in the field, enforcing on a legalized, regulated, taxed, statutorily authorized set of laws and regulations. And this recommendation, in my mind, is really filling a gap that is missing and that helps us ultimately in our end goal, which is administering a legalized market. And so I appreciate the steps that have been taken here. I agree with Commissioner Title that making sure that if a joint task force were to come to fruition, that there is a really close look and capture of data relative to enforcement issues. I think that it's really important that we are keeping track of that. And as we move forward with additional licensing and addressing both the issue of supply and demand, I think that this is a recommendation that will help us in our efforts.
Thank you very much. Other comments or questions? Then I guess I would like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the release of this report. Can I have such a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
can I just, could you delegate to me the authority to work with the Attorney General's office on any additional changes that are not major or substantive? Thank you.
Can I ask somebody to make a motion, including the General Counsel's request? Thank you. Can I ask for a second? Let the record show Commissioner McBride made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Flanagan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show that the motion was approved by a vote of 4 in favor. Commissioners Flanagan, Hoffman, Doyle, and McBride voting in favor, with Commissioner Title voting nay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, General Counsel and your team, for the hard work on this, and really appreciated it. The next item up are approval of vendors for responsible vendor training. I believe, Dr. Johnson, you're going to help us with this part of the conversation. Is that correct? Mr. Executive Director, you want to go first, or you want to? Your call.
Sure. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you know, previously the Commission has considered various vendors that have applied to be certified and accredited as responsible vendor trainers. That application process is open and remains open and does not have a kind of a finite end date. And so based on that, applications continue to come in. In the first wave, there were also applications that were not recommended for approval, but instead reopened. And so it's a continuing process. Where it does not track similar to our licensing process is this review is team-based, including staff from different departments, led ably by Dr. Johnson, but also including folks from our investigations team, our communications team, our legal team, et cetera. And so it's a bit of a team-based review. Therefore, though, it is reviewed in waves, and so not as an ongoing basis. So before you today are 6 recommendations for approval or certification as responsible vendor trainers. And I'll begin with the first one is Crisis Solutionist. The entity is located in West Salisbury. The contact is, or the primary is Lawrence Smith. Staff reviewed this application that includes reviewing all training materials, reviewing the proposed curriculum, as well as the various attestations relative to conflict that may exist or should not exist based on regulations. And so based on that review, the Crisis Solutionist is recommended to be identified and certified as a responsible vendor trainer. And of course,
Is there any objection on part of my fellow commissioners to review these or to vote as a roster? No. So would you mind going through the other 5,
Happy to.
please, Mr. Executive Director?
the next applicant is Christy, and I apologize if I screw up the name, but Christy Taligan. This individual and entity, again, was reviewed by staff. What is reviewed is the general content of that training, again, reviewing the attestation as well as the course materials and any attachments. So again, the second recommendation is that of Christy Taligan. The third is Mary Hull, again, both individual and entity. Staff, including, again, through Dr. Johnson's leadership, reviewed the content, those attestations, and the course materials. Next, again, I'm probably going to screw this one up, is James Yagello. My best effort. Again, individual and entity. Staff reviewed the materials and the content. Next is Leafy Green, LLC. Finally is Marijuana Handlers. Again, the review process includes the general content of the application, the course materials themselves, as well as review of those attestations. I should also disclose there are other applications that are pending. There were other applications that were reviewed in this wave and have been reopened. What is provided to the applicant similar to licensing when reopened is what does need to be addressed or updated, in addition to a checklist of the review that staff conducts. And so that material should be a good guidepost as to what we're looking for in order to make a recommendation to the Commission for that certification.
Thank you. Before I ask for a motion and a vote, are there any comments or questions for either the Executive Director or Dr. Johnson? Commissioner Title?
Thank you for your work on this. The last time that we approved these trainers, I had asked if we could have something incorporated into the process that implemented the values in our mission with regards to the other types of priority we have in the licensing process. And I think the answer was something like, we'll endeavor to do that. I believe there's at least one social equity program participant in this list. If you don't know, it's okay.
I don't know the answer.
Okay, so I just wanted to give you an opportunity. It looks like you did it from the results, but if you have any comment you want to make about how you took that into account.
I'm sorry if this is taking me off guard. We did not do anything in particular to social equity since the last meeting. To keep it very consistent, I think any changes that we would make with the program, we would want to have approval first.
Okay.
Before moving forward.
Okay, well, it looks like it was baked into the process in any case. And then my other question was, I've been asked by other applicants for some kind of certainty for their business planning, such as every X months, will approve X applicants or something like that? Is that a possibility?
I think we should direct that.
So to respond to your first question as well, my answer at the time and I'd maintain today is because these are not reviewed on an independent, individual, day-by-day basis, they're reviewed as batches. Prioritization wouldn't make logical sense as far as whatever is existing in the queue at that point is reviewed in its entirety. So it's not as if the first one reviewed, we'll get to it next. So Dr. Johnson and the team sit in a kind of a panel format and review the materials together, but based on that batch. So prioritization. That said, I think the other commitment I made, though, was to review the process and to see if there are efficiencies there, and especially, I should also acknowledge that there is, as a result, there is not one person at the agency responsible, like we have a director of licensing. Dr. Johnson, Director BA, Mary Alice, Curley, are the folks that are working on this are doing this in addition to the actual day jobs that they enjoy, hopefully, at the commission.
Do you care to rephrase that?
I said what I said. So I think the commitment, so hopefully that satisfies the first question, but it's also a segue into the second question, which is to, I think, further define and structure the process, including, though, frankly, adding probably a staff member that is focused on these efforts to facilitate that more structured review. One of the things that I know Dr. Johnson has provided me the feedback on is when reopened, it often generates a lot of follow-up questions of, I thought I did provide that material, or what do I have to update, or can you walk me through it? And so just like we went through the licensing guidance document, which is really robust, I think the next phase for us would be to dig into the RVT and other application processes that the commission enjoys, including the social equity program and RVT. So I will renew that commitment to, I think, add that structure and add that predictability too.
Sorry, just a clarifying question. I just want to make sure I understand. So we reviewed the batches, that group of people reviewed the batches, and then it wasn't set that there would be 6 selected. It was whatever was ready would move forward and the rest would be reopened?
That's exactly right. Yep.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Then I'd like to ask for a motion, please, to approve the staff recommendation to use these vendors for responsible vendor training. I won't go through them, but the 6 that are on this slide, can I have such a motion, please?
Second.
Let the record show Commissioner Flanagan made the motion to approve, seconded by Commissioner Doyle. All in favor?
Aye.
Let the record show the Commission unanimously approved the staff recommendation on responsible vendor training vendors. Thank you very much. I am not aware of any additional agenda items that I was not aware of at the time that the agenda was published. I would like to talk about quickly our next 2 meetings. Commissioner Title and I both mentioned the next meeting next Thursday. Next Thursday, which is the applicant forum. It will be in our offices here. I really do encourage any interested applicant to not only come, but pre-register to make sure that we're hearing from people that have issues or concerns or, frankly, suggestions. So I do encourage people to both participate but pre-register for that. Our next public meeting after that, I don't think we have a slide for it, but the next public meeting after that is February 6th, which is just one of our standard monthly public meetings, which will be also in our offices here. At this point in time, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I just want to recognize and thank the staff. These meetings are incredibly time-consuming and challenging to prepare for and orchestrate. The content, the process, just the physical setup of the room. I just wanted to make sure that everybody on the staff that is involved in this knows that I recognize the contributions they make, and I appreciate it greatly, as I'm sure do my fellow commissioners. I want to thank my fellow commissioners. I thought this was really constructive and very good meeting, and we accomplished a lot in this meeting, very important things. I want to thank my fellow commissioners, and also want to thank the public. I really appreciate the way you participated in this meeting and the respect you've shown for the process and, more importantly, for one another. So thank you very much. Can I ask for a motion for adjournment, please?
Someone should thank you for having your focus all day long. It's not easy, so thank you too.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Title. Thank you. Can I have a second, please? All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned as of 1:04 PM. Thank you very much.